This time last year, I reviewed the iPad mini. I opted to take a look at the full-sized iPad this year because they did something that finally drew my attention to the line. They made an effort to make it even more compact, slimmed it down further, made it lighter, more airy, and to a size I found more comfortable, and actually made me want a 10-inch tablet for a change. If you want to grab a new tablet, follow the links in my description to pick one up from mobicity.com, and like, comment, and subscribe to see the tech that I find compelling. So I alluded to the fact I'm fond of the design. I was completely receptive of the iPad mini style when it rolled into the spotlight last year, and thought the lack of continuity between the two lines was a shame because Apple nailed the idea of portability when they decided to go mini, and I never found room for the full-size option in my routine. But that's where the iPad Air changes things. It's a big redesign, while still being very much the same design and without mistake an Apple iPad no more, no less. It's the small things that make the change so apparent. The broad rear aluminium panel brandishes the slate grey in matte, peels sharper than before into the sides, then swiftly bridges across into the front glass panel. The chamfered edge seamlessly gives a more defined texture difference from the glossy glass and slippery back. In hand, I found it very different at first. The dimensions across the width have been trimmed considerably down. This means that the Air now sports a thinner bezel on the front face, and this is noticeable from the get-go. In two hands, reach is less of an issue in portrait than I've previously experienced. The more pronounced contour gives a beautiful symmetry, and the iPad Air is more pad-like than ever. To walk with it held between fingers and thumb is where I discovered just how much I loved it. It is so thin, sensibly proportioned, and with a rounding that nudges snugly into the webbing of your hand. In a lot of ways, this is where I feel the design should have started all those years back, but I'm glad to see Apple finally there. It is also considerably lighter, weighing in at 469 grams. It really is less cumbersome to use continuously, and it's impressive to see just how much Apple was able to shed. The physical buttons are positioned slightly onto the rounding, but with excellent distinction and reliability. The dual microphones are slit into the chassis, and the lightning port is bordered by dual row speaker grills either side. It is, as always, machined to absolute perfection. The quality and feel of an iPad really is above and beyond its competitors, but other manufacturers are catching up. My only slight criticisms: the contrasting reflective Apple logo on the rear smudges terribly, along with the front glass panel. It's more noticeable on an iPad because the display isn't the deepest black by comparison to the bezel, and when a device is made so elegantly, and it's kind of a centerpiece for your desk, fingerprints detract from its allure, and people don't need to know just how greasy I am. The internals have also been boosted, as is to be expected, to the now A7 chipset with support of a 64-bit architecture and low-power M7 Motion code processor that handles sensor data from the accelerometer, gyro, and compass. At this point, the 64-bit architecture means nothing but opens the door to big changes in years to come for tablets and smartphones in general. It's the same old story, 2 times better performance in CPU and graphics from the last year's model. It's seamless and fast in applications and around the OS, but most Apple devices will handle without stagger anyway. But next to an older 2nd gen or 3rd gen, I did notice definite benefit in performance. Gaming was a bloody dream. The graphics and textures truly are impressive, and I ran any game flawlessly. The Air boasts dual antenna Wi-Fi, which ran perfect, no lapse in signal, and maintained good connectivity. It also sees LTE in other variants. Bluetooth 4.0 comes standard, but NFC and Wi-Fi 802.11ac got swept under the rug again. The battery has been stripped of a cell limited to hold no more than 32.4 watt-hours of charge, but the processor is more energy efficient, being built with a 28 nanometer technology. I would agree with it being used to its full potential for 10 hours. I would also charge it only once every 2 or so days with my standard usage. The 9.7-inch Retina display is gorgeous. It comes in at 264 ppi and the thing is sharp, very true to colour, bright, everything I want. One thing I will note is a very slight distance between the glass and the display itself. This produces a cheaper hollow sound when you tap on it. The other big upgrade was the update to the newly overhauled iPhone operating system, iOS 7. It is the first major change we've seen for some time, bringing lots of new additions to improve usability, but the biggest part was the general change to the look of the UI. The design of it is far brighter, more punchy and colourful, and stripped back of a lot of the jarring design elements that came before in favour of cleaner visuals. I personally am a big fan. It was necessary and time for it. The frosted glass elements are beautiful, and the design style of the new app breathes some life back into what had become a safe and stale experience. I'm a big fan of utilising the bottom bezel for setting shortcuts and controlling and launching media. I found the notifications panel was more widely used this time, but still doesn't feel an integral part of the iOS experience like it does on Android. Multitasking, however, I used it for a change. It is detailed and simple and obviously fast. And you can't forget about Siri. Mind you, I kind of did. With all the big changes in appearance, it still remains an experience that most people can pick up and easily use. The OS runs fluidly and the experience is consistent thanks to Apple controlling so closely the OS and hardware. The jump up to the full iPad size for the OS that is made and intended for iPhone use does mean some of the animations get extended out and feel too lengthy. This is an easy fix for Apple. Many apps are available that are made for the iPad and give additional features over the iPhone counterpart, but the others that aren't are blown out and can often look sparse. While it is completely achievable to have an iPad replace much of what your laptop offers you, for me tablets have always been designed to consume lots and lots of media, and the iPad is perfect for that. Mind you, jumping up significant price brackets based on Wi-Fi or LTE and then coupled with internal storage amounts is a complete rip-off. But the loudspeakers at the bottom delivered excellent bass and crisp sound and was able to drown out the kids, which can be a rarity for most devices. And don't forget, the kids love iPads. There is also a 5MP iSight camera with a 5-element lens and a 1.2MP FaceTime camera. Video chats were excellent on the iPad Air, and the rear camera actually gave out pretty nice photos and videos, but I'll be damned if I'm seeing snapping shots around town on a tablet. My verdict? I loved it. I didn't always love using the full-size iPad. The Mini spoiled me and showed me that an 8-inch display was my cup of tea, and I never saw myself considering otherwise, but now I think I could. I see so much potential now with cloud-based streaming and the massive integration of business tools that this could be more than just a means of consuming media, but the price, I'm mixed on it. If you have invested in Apple's other devices, the iPad complements nicely, but for me, the Mini will still be a better fit for my lifestyle. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to catch more from me. I'm Kurt, and this is KABOOtech. See ya!